Hello and welcome to the Join Dota League Season number 5, American Division 2. This is going to be a two-game series between CNB and the House is Down. As far as your caster is concerned, I'm GrandisV, and I'll be your host and caster throughout the evening, at least for these two games, and maybe we'll have another series after the fact here on HeflaTV 1. But enough of that, we'll get into this game, and it should be a pretty darn good one. The House is Down, and CNB, as far as their last couple matchups are concerned, have been looking pretty darn even. CNB and the House is Down trading 1-1 in their last JDL match against each other, and both of them are more than potent teams and very good inside their groups, respectively. CNB will open up this draft with a Troll Warlord first pick for their team, and well, fair enough too. For the House is Down, they'll snag up the Lion as well as the Bristleback, looking for pretty much these flavor of the month or very popular picks as of late to open things up. The only interesting thing, or peculiar bands at least, are coming out from CNB with the Brewmaster and Invoker band out. Brewmaster, I suppose, is fair enough. A lot of the South American teams still do prize their Brewmasters quite highly, even though he has fallen out of favor in the big stages. Still a pretty potent pick in his own right. And the Invoker, but then again, they're not too weird, I suppose. The next stage of bands going by very quickly with Io and Zeus taken out by CNB, afraid of potential global presence coming out from THD, and Io Bristleback definitely would be something to be feared. But interestingly enough for me is that the Vengeful Spirit hasn't been touched at all, and I think there probably isn't a better pick for the houses down here as far as the support that would offer them pretty much everything you could want from a support. An extra Mimas armor spell to synergize with Bristleback and his goo. Another stun to combo with the Lion and gank early with, as well as counter initiation up against the Bat Rider, and I really don't think there's anything better suited, and honestly, I'm surprised that it hasn't been touched inside the bans, especially by CNB. I think that the Zeus ban probably would have been better to take out that Vengeful Spirit. And, well, there you have it. The House is Down. We'll snag that up as their next. CNB wasting no time with an AA next. After the fact, going to be a pretty nice pickup for them. A lot of aggressive potential coming out from this hero, and well, if you're comfortable with it, could work wonders for your team. So, fair enough for CNB. They'll snag up that AA. There's not really anything early on to help them proc that cold feet, but Chilling Touch in and of itself is a pretty decent reason to pick up the Ancient Apparition, but more than anything, you're there for the Ice Blast, just making sure that the houses down aren't going to be able to rely on any form of feeling, even though they don't have anything immediately that comes to mind. Maybe it's a Bristleback mech, but probably not. It's just a really nice spell to have at your disposal. It's going to be Shadow Fiend next for House is Down, so definitely a minus armor sub-theme coming out from their lineup. With the presence of the Dark Lord added to the mix now, the Shadow Fiend is going to be a pretty likely mid laner for the House is Down, and they do lack a little bit of initiation power, although their supports in the early game definitely can carry them through that. They should be looking for some sort of control from their last laner, which probably is going to be a solo laner in some form or fashion. We'll have to see what they settle on. But right now, I quite like the Houses Down's lineup. Even though the Bat Rider is always nice to have on your side, the Vengeful Spirit's going to be taking quite a lot of punch out of his initiations. They do have an Earthshaker now as well to help secure all of that, but still, not really feeling it for CNB. There's nothing that's really meshing their lineup together, nothing that really clicks. They seem to just be picking really good heroes, and fair enough, I suppose. The Troll, all of these heroes isolated are pretty darn good, but I think that the House is Down just have a little bit more synergies when it comes to their lineup, all things considered, and have better ways to scale throughout the game. CNB, by all means, could snowball very heavily off of a Troll and Bat Rider to get a lot of early momentum, get a lot of kills on their belt, get a fast blink up for that Bat Rider, but I think for the most part, the House is Down are pretty darn well equipped, and in a perfect world scenario, I think the Houses Down are looking pretty solid. We'll see the Sniper band out last from the Houses Down. It would have been a pretty nice pickup for CNB, benefiting from that Chilling Touch very heavily, as well as with the Battle Trance. Could be annoying for the Houses Down to actually get up in front of that Sniper and get into his face. With the current picks that they have, there's nothing really there. Swap into Magic Missile, maybe. Eventually Blink on Lion, potentially Blink on Shadow Fiend, but nothing innate, nothing like a Storm Spirit or anything of the sort. And honestly, Storm wouldn't be a bad pick for the Houses Down if they wanted to snag that up for themselves. It would make their lanes a little bit more peculiar, probably safe lane Shadow Fiend, throw the Storm Spirit mid and Bristleback towards the off lane, but I definitely think that they could get away with it. The Bristleback in the off lane, although it is a potential usage of that hero for CNB, is not going to have the greatest of times. in that laning situation. Interestingly enough, CNB are going to ban out the Drow Ranger, and although it's not the control route that I was talking about earlier on, it would give the houses down a truckload of damage. They'll go ahead and snag up the Tidehunter last, and I think this is probably a better way to go about doing things, just making sure that you have some sort of teamfight supremacy. I think they have plenty of damage. Their supports do a decent chunk by themselves, and then you have a Shadow Fiend Bristleback that you have to worry about if you're CNB. Yet another source of minus armor coming out from the houses down. If you get all of that applied to an enemy hero, they are going to be melting like butter, especially if that hero is like a Bat Rider Ancient Apparition, not necessarily the highest armored heroes, and not going to be building an extra bit of armor. Honestly, I think Tranquil Boots is going to be very useful for these supports this game, even though usually see Earthshakers go for Arcanes. I think the Tranquil Soul Ring should be the order of business for him, so he doesn't absolutely melt it. Well, I think that's a pretty solid way of going about it, although it's not going to be the end-all, be-all by any means. Houses down just have so much at their disposal. Very nice, well-rounded lineup coming out from them. What can CNB pick up to tie this all together, I suppose, is the other question. They're probably lacking a safe lane farmer, although it could be something to throw in the mid lane up against the Shadow Fiend. Razor could be pretty good for them, just to make sure that they have decent lanes, but in the end, they'll settle on the Dusa. And, well, that is going to round out CNB's lineup right now. The Mana Drain coming out from the, THD side is decent. But, again, not going to be the end of the world. It is just a Lion and no natural diffusal carriers, and probably not going to be seeing a diffusal blade anywhere inside this game, or a Necro book for that matter. So Medusa should be able to get pretty darn tanky, and is going to dissuade the houses down from taking this to the super later portions of the game, and, well, should be pretty darn interesting. Unfortunately, so I am going to be solo casting this game, so I won't be able to interact in chat very much at all. But outside of that, we'll go into the game proper. This is going to be a 2-game series. Starting off on the THD side, we'll have the Crazy playing on the Tidehunter, Suggest going to be playing on the Shadow Fiend, Mino on the Lion, Bristleback by Strafe, and Zeal on the Vengeful Spirit. On the Dire side, Medusa going to be played by Alimao? I have no idea. Either way, mid lane Troll going to be played by Klotz22, Ancient Apparition handled by Deeks, and Earthshaker played by Nedling. Last but not least, our Bat Rider played by Jubilu, going to be sending out to himself a nice little clarity as they look to secure the early rune placed in the bottom lane. They are a little slow to the chase here, and it looks like THD are going to beat them to this bottom rune area and aren't actually going to be able to secure any spot that they want. In fact, Earthshaker needs to be very darn careful if he wants to get this word out for his Bat Rider friend. Looks like they're actually going to pull back and instead go for the bounty rune, so he'll be able to place this one undetected, surprisingly enough. Maybe expecting the Bat Rider already have dropped it down. Well, THD are going to get that ward placed right under their noses, but as far as their supports, I think Venge has enough money. No, never mind. She invested very heavily into some extra regeneration, so they aren't going to have money for sentries to start this game off. So Bat Rider's ward is going to stick, which means no pulls, at least for the first couple of waves, until the supports can manage to scrap together 200 gold, which does take quite a long time to really push through the game. Bottom rune looks like they want to get it for the Bat Rider, but can't do it. The Fissure Block is going to put Strafe right on top of that bounty, and he'll find himself a nice little infusion of gold. Tidehunter gets the one up towards top, so THT already with a slight advantage when it comes to the gold and experience department, and it really is going to help both of these lanes by quite a bit. Bottom lane is pretty much what we'll call the magic stick lane between the Quill spam as well as the spam coming out from the Bat Rider. Both teams would be wise to invest into that item for themselves just to make sure that they're able to sustain their spells throughout the duration of this early landing stage. Earthshaker is actually stuck down in bottom after Fissure blocking. I'd expect Ned to go elsewhere. For now, they leave the Medusa solo against the Tide, which is definitely comfortable for the Medusa, but I don't think they need to be giving this Tidehunter so much. Another interesting thing is we have Deeks going over and looking for a D-word in mid. He's just kind of chilling. He will be able to deny them that vision. It is eventually going to make his way up towards top. Yeah, wondering why he was sticking around, just harassing the Shadow Fiend a little bit, but Suggest is doing just fine. 3-0 at the first couple of creep waves is more than acceptable for Shadow Fiend, and will secure him the bottle of gold. Even though he didn't go for Necromastery level 1, he'll at the very least be able to spam out his raises, and I think this is just fine. Well then, for now, they're going to be chasing the Bat Rider over in the sidelines. He's going to be able to Firefly over the precipice, however. So Bat Rider is going to survive, although Jubilee does need to tread carefully. There is a lot of CC inside this lane. If he gets caught out by a stray Magic Missile or by a stray Hex coming out from Lion, things could get hairy very quickly. Actually, Lion has opted for Earth Spike level 1, so not going to have access to both of his disables. Getting level 2 and 3 for Lion is a huge leap in power. So Earth Spike level 1 is a pretty lackluster spell, but once you get that level 2 into it, it really starts doing quite a lot of work. Earthshaker has been hunting, but actually hasn't found anything. Ned will just look to secure the 2-minute rune, it seems. But right now, this Earthshaker has absolutely no experience. He's going to bump into Mino, and Ned being spotted out could be in a bit of trouble. That is a boots first line, after all, but with no backup close, Ned is going to not actually have anything to worry about. Okay, well, there you have it. Bounty rune going to be secured by Ned. He's going to pick it up himself. 60 experience for the Earthshaker here, 2 minutes into the game. The Tidehunter really hasn't been zoned out much at all, even with Chilling Touch. The Ancient Apparition alone can't really do the job. And the Crazy has managed to find himself a lot of experience. Although his farm is limited, he's a solo offlaner, and you can't really blame him for it. Although they now have Chilling Touch and are going to force him back. With 5 tangos still left in his inventory, he'll be able to sustain himself this lane. Meantime, down towards bottom, Earthspike going to connect onto Jubilee. He has a Firefly, however, and I think he's going to be able to make it again over the spot if he really needs to, but looks like that's not even going to be the case, as the sports have given up chase. And he'll be able to survive. Right now we're in for a pretty static start, or yeah, not really anything happening across the map. We have a double damage rune picked up by the Shadow Fiend, but honestly the rotation ability with that double damage rune is pretty darn limited. Earthshaker's finally made his way up towards top, but still hasn't seen any more experience other than that bounty rune to pick down towards bottom. This is not going to be an Earthshaker that needs to be you need to be afraid of necessarily of initiating into you. He's pretty much all about that fissure, all about sitting behind the Deuce and ensuring farm. Although that's a decent way to play it, it isn't going to be a happy time to be the Earthshaker. We'll have to see if he's going to be able to catch up into this game. Finally sees a little bit of neutral experience. Medusa is dropping low under the tower as she farms up, but the Tidehunter has completely left the lane, at least for now. Going all the way back to base, I believe he prepped himself an Ancient Stack, but unfortunately not for him. That was blocked out by his Sentry, so they're actually not able to do anything with this. The Dire have secured control over this high ground vision, so Shadow Fiend might not be privy to the fact that there is an Earthshaker ready and willing to drop a fissure behind him, and let's see if he's going to be able to get off a successful block. Tidehunter wants to get over here to stack these Ancients yet again. He didn't know that it failed, and, well, he spots out the Earthshaker and should know that that's not going to work anymore. The Crazy is currently in a position that he's probably lost a little bit of the momentum. I think leaving himself in the lane probably would have been a little bit better, even though the harass coming up from Medusa is annoying and all. I don't think he really needed to leave. I think that Tidehunter could have been able to get experience at the very least out of the lane, and continuing to do so, I think he's kind of fallen behind in that respect. Even though Batrider has less, in theory, than the Tidehunter right about now, he has some stacks in the jungle, and that's pretty much money in the bank, experience in the bank for Jubilee to farm up. Unfortunately, he has some mud golems over in the medium camp, but still, he's going to be doing just fine for himself. We do have the Tidehunter come back up towards top lane, and well, that looks like that's where he's going to stay. This game really has been very passive. These sentry wards placed out by the Lion are not going to spot out the sentry placed by the Dire to block those ancient camps because it has actually just expired. So Mino, unfortunately for him, has just wasted a little bit of gold. Alrighty then, 0-0, still nothing has happened, unfortunately, so these supports just really aren't in any position to really gank, except for the Lion and the Venge. I think they probably could have made an aggressive move towards the mid lane and help out that Shadow Fiend kill off Cloth 2-2. It's a pretty easy gank to pull off, especially if you just grab a smoke and get a couple stuns in there, although Ned has been pretty nomadic throughout these lanes, and maybe just the threat of having Fissure counter initiation coming out from this Earthshaker is enough to keep these supports from actually going onto anything. So maybe just that hidden factor of having the S. They'll leave the Troll to farm inside the medium camp as they leave the Earthshaker solo, but this is not a lane that Ned can be comfortable in. Level 2 Earthshaker eats a double raise and a right click to the face, drop down to 100 HP. Ned needs to be very darn careful up against this Shadow Fiend. Now we have the Lion walking over, going to bump into the Troll. Not a neighborhood that this Lion wants to be in, but now he has some backup from the Shadow Fiend. First Spike going to miss. Hex is going to be on the mark, but they only hit one of the raises, so that's not going to be enough for the kill. Although it is some nice harass, I suppose, onto CNB's side. We have a pause for a reason unbeknownst to me. I have absolutely no idea why we're sitting around here or what's going to be the case. Well then. After that really awkward pause, we're going to have the good to go coming out from Zeal as well as on Mail. Alrighty then. Still killless in 6 minutes into this game. Honestly, not sure where this first blood's going to break out. I think it really depends on somebody making a poor move or getting a lucky rune spawn. Double damage might be it, but haste and invis are really the ones you want to be making plays with, or they could actually set up something pretty much guaranteed. Double damage on Troll is by no means something to scoff at, however. It is going to pretty much ensure that if he's sticking onto a target, he's going to be able to bring them down, but maybe he just decides to farm with it. A little bit unfortunate for CNB is that they really haven't made great use of their jungle. I think a lot of this time that the Ancient Apparition and Earthshaker have been kind of doing nothing across the map, they probably could have been able to get a little bit of extra gold, especially for the Batrider. His Blink Dagger is going to be very heavily delayed. Jubilee only level 4, only about 800, a little bit less than that inside the bank for himself. And although he'll steal a small stack coming out from the enemy side of the map, which is great and all, I think he'd probably be better off as supports would lend him a hand a little bit. Mino actually going to walk right by the Batrider as he's farming up that double stack. Can't actually find him. Nighttime vision is terrible. Fissure in mid catches out onto the Shadow Fiend, but with some backup coming out from the line, this shouldn't be a kill. They're actually potential going to be a turnaround. Hex onto Ned, but they just can't get in range for the triple raise combo. One raise, two raise into Class 2-2, but it's actually the line to fall with that double damage rune on the Troll, bottling up. Class 2-2 survives. The Wave of Terror not going to be enough, and he's going to be able to tango up and do all manner of things. Somehow, Ward ended up over here. We'll pretend that we didn't see that. Poor Ned looks like he placed that one for some reason or another, but that is a very influential first blood for CNB, finding quite a big advantage. They'll look to potentially turn this around, but the Shadow Fiend doesn't have a lot of mana. That double damage is still activated. They'll slow down one, but the double raise combo, one auto attack. Easy kill for the SF. It is a very easy trap to be falling into, just watching how much damage those raises do. The full combination doing 325 a pop. That really does quite a lot. That's pretty much like having an Aghanim Scepter level 16 Finger of Death, or somewhere in the vicinity there. A little bit less, actually. But regardless, it's still pretty insane. Lumio is over on the sidelines farming up. This Medusa's pretty much been untouched, as has the Bristleback. And after that last kill, I think mid lane's more or less a wash too. Slight advantage towards the Troll, but nothing unsurmountable. Right now, this game is pretty much even, and we're pretty much waiting for these two offlaners to, I don't know, do something. Batrider needs his Blink Dagger forward, and the Crazy without a Blink for himself and without any stacks to fall back on to farm up that Blink is going to be requiring Ravage, and he's going to throw it solo onto Deeks. Well, that's an easy kill on the Ancient Apparition. I suppose it's worthwhile, as long as they don't think they need to use it in the next 2 minutes. This does give CNB a little bit of an opening if they want to look for a push. Not having to deal with that Ravage is quite a boon for your team. But then again, we'll have to see if they actually are able to do anything with that. But nice pick off for THD, I suppose. Going to give Tidehunter a little bit more gold towards that Blink Dagger. And he has level 7 too. Can very easily farm up some Ancients, which the Vengeful Spirit is preparing. But unlucky enough for the Venge, stupid Ancient Thunderhides, after they cast that Frenzy, a lot of the time they just kind of stand there. They don't know what to do. They're stupid dragons. Either way, Lion going to lose his life up towards top. Lumio I'm able to mop up that kill. Lion sticking around a little too long there up in the top lane. Only one was XP, but that's going to be denied him by CNB. The Tidehunter will resume his position in this top lane for now. Right now, if you ignore that dire Observer ward, they still have nice vision inside mid. CNB are securing some extra space for that Troll, but it doesn't really feel like they want to do anything with that. Maybe once we get the Helm of the Dominator up and running for CNB, they'll start potentially looking for a Roshan if they can find an opportunity for it. We have an Invis rune on the Shadow Fiend, and he's looking out and wind a level 1 Requiem onto somebody with maxed out souls. It hurts a heck of a lot if he can actually find somebody to do that on, but it looks like Deeks isn't going to sit far enough back. One raise, they have the second raise, long range is going to miss, however. Now nice Fissure, cashing out Zeal. It's going to be a pretty easy kill on the Vengeful Spirit in return. Lucky enough, Sigjest is on the other side of that vision. He'll be able to survive, but what could have been a pretty easy kill for THD turns into a nice turnaround for CNB, as they're the ones to collect with that extra bit of gold. Unfortunate that that Shadow Fiend just wasn't able to get close enough. Nice positioning from the Ancient Apparition, even though he didn't know exactly what that Shadow Fiend is. Maybe having some extra sixth sense. Maybe the sentry was actually placed down before that. Maybe they knew exactly what was going on, so I could just be talking on my ass. It does happen every once in a while. Vanguard, freshly picked up by the Bristleback. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with, coming out from THD. Honestly, I don't think CNB have the damage to bring down this hero. No level 6 on the Ancient Apparition as of yet. And unless they actually catch out the Warthog Bristle Beast in the front, maybe with the Medusa Stone Gaze, I don't really think they're going to be able to kill him, and Strafe should just be able to sit in this bottom lane pretty much indefinitely, but as far as heroes go, is one that wants to be accomplishing something with this extra bit of free space. He wants to be putting the screws to the enemy team. We'll have to see if he's going to be able to do that. This Earthshaker continues to just play incredibly passively behind his allies, and he's doing a pretty darn good job of it, but the Batrider is a little far away. Potential kill onto Jubilu, a brew, and he does have that Firefly again to get over this ravine. It looks like he's going to be able to do so, even though he has been gooed up once. A Fissure as well, for good measure, going to keep them all safe. Middle lane has not been showed by the dire side as the troll just continues farming away inside the woods. And, well, fair enough, but this is a little bit of space that maybe they would like to have somewhere else. Suggest is free to hit this tower once or twice, but he doesn't know exactly where the supports and the Batrider are. And well, this might end up biting him if he's a little bit too overzealous, and it looks like he might get cut out. The ranged axe is a little too far away from Troll Warlord, not able to find it, but over down inside the river, Earthspike on the Ned, trying to get off that enchant totem, but can't do it. They'll lasso up Mino, and they should have enough damage to kill off this lion, or do they? Ned getting a little greedy with that enchant totem, wanting to chain step him perfectly, and now the Fissure misses. Mino going to be okay, at least for now, especially since they bring in Strafe over in the sidelines. First use of the lasso, a little bit lackluster coming up from the dire side, just not able to secure that kill. 2 to 3, 12 minutes into the game, pretty much a farm fest, but that might change once Suggest gets his hands onto a fancy new Yule's Scepter of Divinity. We'll be able to pretty much instant pop pretty much anybody that he finds as soon as he gets level 11, especially easy to get those kills in. Nice defensively, if you catch the Batrider before he blinks in, can be pretty darn crucial, and also very nice to just ignore the Dusa inside the fights for that 2.5 second disable. All around, I think it is a pretty nice item to have on your Shadow Fiend. Just in general, in this game, it's pretty darn good. No exception there. We do have another Ravage primed and ready from the Tidehunter, so the Crazy is looking to find that initiation, but doesn't end up finding anybody. Nobody's close. Looks like THD are going to find themselves with a free 1 tower, or tier 1 tower, excuse me, at their hands. There is really nobody here or interested in actually defending that. Big wraparound onto the Deuce. No smoke onto these raiding heroes, but just banking on the fact that Dire do not have a ward close. This ward unfortunately does not spot out anything since it is inside the trees. And well, it looks like they might be getting a pretty free kill on to Alameo. Maybe not. Either way, they think better of it. The Medusa is going to be safe under a tower. They place a ward, and that's pretty much all that expedition is going to net them. Well then, we'll go back to pretty much the status quo that we've been sitting at the entire game. The only exception being the Troll is attempting to go for Roshan. Looks like he's going to be able to do it. No Helm Creep is actually taken by Fox 2, at least inside the pit, but he's going to be able to take a free Roshan right in after that failed gank in mid, or gank that they didn't actually attempt. Aren't anywhere close to defend this, and that's an easy double life for Klotz 2-2, and he's going to be well on his way towards an S and Y, or Mant style, whatever his choice may be. Now with the Blink Dagger on CNB, they have a lot of tools at their disposal to make things happen. Both of our supports have found themselves level 6, and, well, I think this is time for them to look for a gank at the very least, and maybe transition that into a tower push. I think that sitting back, even though you can do so on a Dusa, isn't necessarily the right choice here, since they do have so many big leaps in power. Yule Scepter in mid, onto the poor Earthshaker. One raise, can't get the second one off. The Fissure already flew through, and with the Ice Blast on him as well, Suggest is not going to be able to get that Earthshaker kill, although the Lion is sitting in wait with Finger of Death ready and primed. If he spots out Ned, just a pretty easy click of R will do him in. He spots him out under the tower, and easy kill for Mino. Headshot, and well, Lion, it looks like he's going to be able to make it out alive too. This pretty much flags that there is some sort of ward around, or what have you. Down towards bottom, tier 1 tower going to be taken. The Requiem unwailed on the Klotz 2-2. It's not directly on him, but another couple of raises and a right click coming out from the bench going to be enough to at the very least get an Aegis. They have a Ravage if they really need it and really wanted to get this kill. They blink in, they're looking for the lasso but can't find it. Nice Ravage coming out from the Crazy, and they'll be able to turn the Klotz 2-2 with another raise. The Crazy still surviving over on the sidelines, and now Batrider swap back. He does lose the Venge inside the Firefly. Jubilu probably going to lose his life in return, however. They just need one more raise. They do have a long one, but he'll be able to blink down to the south and Firefly his way out of there. After all is said and done, going to be an Aegis as well as a death onto the Troll for a Vengeful Spirit, a trade that THD are going to be more than happy to take. Really nice play coming out from THD. That Ravage coming out at a pretty darn nice time for the Crazy. Not perfect by any means, but definitely did the trick. Not expecting Tidehunter to be over inside the bushes there, and maybe something they should have contemplated. There you have it. Right now, 4-4, tied in the kill score, but there is a slight CNB advantage when it comes to gold. But 500 gold at this point and 1,000 experience is pretty much nothing. There's really not anything that's changing, and well, I think the biggest thing is that Jubilee wasn't able to make use of that first Blink Dagger gank, which usually is a pretty guaranteed kill. Speaking of guaranteed kills, probably going to be a one on Mino, but he actually gets a haste rune after hexing up the Bat Rider. Mino, is he out free? The frame break is going to be enough. And, well, that's going to be the end of his life. Unfortunate for that line. Meantime, in mid, there's going to be a fight to Bruin as HeflaTV is taking on 3 enemy heroes alone. If you have any further ways to lock him down, they are going to gush him up, and he's too darn slow. Turns around for the ranged axes, but this is going to be the end of HeflaTV's life as he gets bashed down by the bristleback. Strafe is currently absolutely untouched. 1-0-0, 124 CS at 16 minutes into the game. You don't usually get to see this amount of farm onto a bristleback, but man, is it scary. SNY as well as the Vanguard are going to mean that Strafe is pretty much unkillable, unless they throw everything and the kitchen sink at this guy, and well, in that case, you have an SF that's going absolutely hog wild with the Blink and Yule's Scepter completed already for Suggest. Things are looking pretty good for THD, all things considered. They are sitting on a Dusa, or waiting out against a Dusa, which isn't necessarily a thing you want to be doing, but at this point in the game, I think it's safe enough. LMAO is really not able to accomplish much, even though he's working towards Scotty, and he's farming pretty darn well, don't get me wrong. Right now, Dusa isn't much of a threat. It won't be until she finishes 2-3 major items before she really becomes a major issue for THD to deal with. THD, they're going to be waiting for the Ravage to cool down, but that's only 8 seconds, so they're going to start pushing down this bottom lane. It looks like they should be able to accomplish this, although Fisher catches out too. There is no Bat Rider close enough to actually pull the trigger and blink and lasso somebody, although he is right there. In the meantime, they're losing a tier 1 tower in mid, the Might of Medusa as well as Troll. They do have the Battle Trance going for them, and well, it looks like this is just going to be a tower trade favoring CNB because of the tower that they're able to snag. Mid tier 1 tower, a lot more important than that bottom tier 1 for the Dire. But outside of that, looks like that's pretty much even. We have an Ice Blast that lands onto 4 heroes, and props the AA, I suppose, but that's pretty much it. The Bat Rider doesn't actually find anybody to stick on, and that's all she wrote. Tier 1 for Tier 1, and the map control on both sides is looking pretty even. We only have one Tier 1 tower still standing in this game. That one's up towards top, and honestly, that tower does almost nothing, if nothing. Or if anything, excuse me. Invis Rune picked up by the Bat Rider, thinking of potentially going for something. They don't have vision of this Bat, so, well, he's safe at least for now, but I think they know that he'd pick that up, or at least have some sort of inkling. Raise 1, raise 2. Jubilee walks through those of his own free will, going to take about half of his HP as damage, and, well, he's back to base. Or, at the very least, is going to be forced to pop some wand charges. Dire's Courier gets sniped over by the Bristleback, as he was just casually meandering through the side, and now that they have the Bat Rider caught out, could be in some trouble. Now he'll blink away, he'll be just fine, but a very easy courier snipe for the Bristleback. Honestly, didn't expect that to happen, but maybe should have been paying a little bit more attention to that minimap. Flame Break going to fly out and bounce back to Crazy, but it looks like nobody's actually going to initiate, and honestly, you probably shouldn't. This is a Bristleback with 1750 HP at this point in the game, and is absolutely trucking with level 11, and level 2 Warpath is a force to be reckoned with. Mito going to looks like he traded a couple blows with Class 2-2, but he's going to be forced all the way back to base. We have Finger of Death again for Mino, and a Blink Dagger, so I think it's about prime time for him to look for a kill of his own. We'll have to see where that's going to be. Right now, both teams are sitting on those Blink Initiators and are ready to find something, but it doesn't look like they've actually been able to find that opportunity. No, Bat Rider is going to be looking for it. He has that smoke pop ready to blink and lasso whatever poor fool ends up walking into his path, but it looks like nobody's going to be found. The Crazy going to make it over towards the south. Dimensional Spirits under a tier 2 tower, and there's just nobody close. They'll spot out the Bristleback, but as I already mentioned, there's really not much that you can do to this guy. Strafe, he's pretty much entirely safe in doing this, unless CNB have all 5, and, well, they don't. Medusa does have that Eye of Scotty completed. It's sub 20 minutes in with the Yasha as well, so things are looking pretty good for CNB in the farm department. Really, this is just a stalled out game. I'm not sure what actually needs to happen before fight breaks out, but it looks like that's going to be the smoke. They have that blink dagger, but will they actually find the troll? They're drawing on the map, but in the end, they don't heed that advice. They're just going to go straight through the jungle. Looks like they will find out Klotz 2-2, and he should be dead as long as he gets the blink hex, and they'll find it. Klotz 2-2 going to be earth spiked up in the air. They have magic missile to follow up. Raise 1, raise 2. Vengeful Spirit gets a kill. That's going to be 6-5, and a nice pickoff coming out from THD. Honestly, when the entire enemy team is missing, and you don't really have any vision up inside this north area, my goodness, I hate that bug. But either way, it can be pretty risky looking for that farm over in the small camp, but he's going to be punished. Down towards bottom, they do get the lasso back onto Strafe, and with this Scotty, they'll kill the Bristleback off. They spare no expenses. Nad going to slam him down. And, well, across the map, it looks like to be a fairly even trade. THD going to continue on to this tier 2 tower, and just by the nature of where these pickoffs happen, they're going to be in a better position to actually fight. They have the mech as well as the Ravage at the ready for the Tide Hunter, and they're doing a lot of structural damage here, or at least a decent chunk. That CNB are not meeting in the bottom tier 2 tower, and they're just not in a position to actually fight since they had to throw so much of that Bristleback. They are going to TP in the Medusa to the front lines with Cold Feet. Might proc on the Crazy, but not going to happen. That TP was a little bit longer than Line anticipated, so the Medusa isn't going to be stunned on impact. But either way, looks like that's going to be about it. We're pretty much in the same state as we were earlier, folks. Neither team has really taken a dominating control over the map or really taken any major objectives. Roshan, we'll see when it's going to respawn next, but the last ages for CNB did next to nothing. It is going to be a pretty short respawn timer at 32 seconds in, and well, we'll have to see if that's actually going to do anything. Seems like it's been a long time since we've actually had any major action happen. The Ravage is yet to be cast by the Tide Hunter, and, well, you know, it's complete Force Staff to get in better position for that. And speaking of Force Staffs, we also have one on the Bat Rider for CNB. As far as the item progression for the Bristleback is concerned, he's going to be going for a plate mail item. Should be a Assault Cuirass for Strafe, but honestly, Shiva's isn't that bad either. I don't think he can really knock either one of them. But I think in this situation, with the amount of minus armor that they have, more minus armor is more the merrier, really. You can't say no. And would be really nice up against CNB's physical damage, which they do very heavily rely on. I mean, Earthshaker and H Apparition can, in theory, do a lot of damage, but with only level 1 ults for both of them, no Blink Dagger on the AS, and no Aghanim Scepter on Deeks, and not even close to it, in fact, going for those Tranquil Boots, and that's all he has. And a Wand, and TP Scroll, and a Branch if you're really counting the sticks. But, yeah. It's not the greatest game to be the AA. He's playing in a pure 5-position support role. Once the Earthshaker gets his Blink Dagger, I would like to give them, or like to see them give a little bit of extra space to that AA, but honestly, what space is there to be had when you have a Troll and Medusa farming up your entire side of the map? There really isn't much. Firefly going to be spent by the Bat Rider, almost purely to counter push this mid lane. They do know what's up, and maybe there's a small opening there, but status quo has pretty much been maintained. The net worth advantage is 1,500 on the side of THD, and, well, the experience advantage is about the same in CNB's favor. Really nothing major. BKB is the next item of choice for the Shadow Fiend. Suggest is going to have that up and ready to go for the next fight, although it's not going to save you from the majority of CNB's damage. Just being able to ignore Fissure Stuns and Blink Echo Slams is a huge boon for Suggest, and honestly, I don't think he needs much else to do the damage at this point in the game. Next item should be something that punches a little harder, but outside of that, I think he's fine. Zio going to be caught out. All he wanted to do was drop a ward, but he dropped it right on top of the sentry and dies for his trouble. 6-7. But CNB do have to commit a Blink Lasso for that one, so I don't think they're going to be able to catch any more. Maybe they do. As Strafe is looking to farm up a large camp, he'll coil up the Bat Rider, but Bat Rider is able to blink towards the north. They spot out the Tide Hunter, but now Earth Spike up on the Jubilee Finger of Death. That's going to be the Bat Rider down, 7-7. Pretty even, but Medusa's going in. Alameo is going to be hexed up. Her mana pool is still pretty strong, and this Medusa is almost impossible to bring down. Will force out the Stony Gaze at the very least, as Bristleback just turns his back very promptly to that one, but now caught out from the rest of his team. No Echo Slam, keeping him in place. The Ravage comes through. Can Strafe actually survive? The Requiem unwound. The Bristleback lives, and now it's going to be the Medusa in a whole lot of trouble. Yul's up by the SF. They have plenty of damage to bring her down if they connect with the Raise combination. Now completely out of mana. Alameo in a whole lot of trouble. They'll continue to grow up one raise, blink in, second raise, and, well, the third raise is on cooldown, so he won't be able to get that, but they still should be able to kill off this Medusa, even though she drops him all low. Ice Blast is going to connect on the Suggest. Doesn't look like it's even going to be needed as the tower kills him off. No blink and no Yule Scepter to disjoint that last attack from the tower. In the end, it's pretty much even. There's really not much that's traded back and forth. The Shadow Fiend dying is actually pretty bad since he didn't buy out before then, ending up losing about 500 gold from that, unfortunately enough. Nobody else was there to tank the tower aggro. Oh, magic missile going to be thrown on the Bat Rider. He was looking for a lasso target, but doesn't actually connect with the Zeal. And yeah, that's it. Medusa is picking up when it comes to the actual items that she's getting right now, working on her butterfly. This Medusa is starting to get quite out of hand, but after dying that last time, it is going to slow her down a little bit. At the very least, this is time that the Medusa isn't farming where the Shadow Fiend is. Even though he is a little bit behind, it's still not unmanageable for both teams. Yeah. It's really quite a slow game. I'm not sure there's much else to talk about here. The fights are few and far between. We might find one onto Deeks. It looks like he was going out for a ward, similar to what we saw the Vengeful Spirit do a second ago. And, well, it's going to end pretty much the same way. Neutral deny. Is it even going to happen? He gets a gold feed proc on the Tide Hunter. Will try to straight TP out, but no, he's getting a cooldown. Vengeful Spirit gets kill with the Urn Charge. And, well, that's going to be all she wrote. Assault Cuirass is going to be the order of business for the Bristleback, about 1,200 gold, until Strafe has his hands on that shiny new piece of armor for himself. But what's actually happening is that the Roshan's being taken by CNB. It's going to be an Aegis for the Troll Warlord. Regeneration Room is out there, and Zeal walks into the pit. My goodness, that was a little bit overzealous from Zeal. He's going to end up dying. Flame Break going to actually free the Tide Hunter from his cliff, but then again, he gets lassoed back. Mystic Snake is going to break that lasso as it does proc the Kraken Shell. Forced out down the low ground, tried to TP, but the rage damage is way too much, and my goodness, CNB finally find themselves with a very tangible advantage after getting that Aegis, as well as a handful of kills that really didn't need to be given away by THD. Tide Hunter and Venge getting caught out of position. Very unfortunate. Now with this CNB, looks like they're going to be able to pretty much barrel down a lane, and wherever they want to go to, I think they should look for a tier 2. They almost have that butterfly up for the Medusa, and that is incredibly scary. Amounts of farm coming out from her just after clearing out a handful more of these creep camps, as well as probably another wave. Should be good. Will eventually decide to end the life of that Harpy Stormcrafter. Lemil was contemplating leaving that in for the THD side to deal with, but in the end, just deciding that she wants a little bit more gold towards that butterfly. SF going to blink TP out up towards top. He's doing his best to put pressure on the tier 2 tower, and he's doing a pretty darn good job of it too. THD find themselves at the tier 2 tower up towards top. That's only 300 damage through. Tide Hunter now respawning. THD are in a situation to where the next fight is going to be 5-on-5. And, well, we'll just have to see how that all pans out. Troll Horde gets that tier 1 tower up towards top, but honestly, that doesn't mean much. He was just able to backdoor that one. Pretty straightforward coming out from the Collapse 2-2, but finally we do have the gold back into CNB's side. Can't really say finally. Really, if you take a look at it, it's all about the farm distribution and where they've actually picked it up. I mean, you have the Bat Rider with 4 staff as well as Blink and Gem. That's pretty much all the Bat Rider needs. But the supports have pretty much nothing outside of the Blink on the Earthshaker, which again is probably pretty much all that you need. Yeah, it looks like CNB are pretty happy with just having a farm Medusa as well as a farm Troll. Well then, I think we would take a look at it. Shadow Fiend's build really hasn't done much for him. Suggest I really haven't seen this Yule Scepter get him any flashy kills or even set up anything. It really doesn't seem like the Yules has been super necessary, and the way that both of these teams are playing, honestly, Midas probably would have been a better course of action for Suggest, even though I don't like suggesting that item mostly for Shadow Fiend. There's your Assault Cuirass picked up freshly by the Bristleback, and Strafe is continuing to be a thorn in CNB's side. But yeah. Status quo hasn't changed. We have the Aegis on the Troll, but that's pretty much it. They don't seem to want to actually fight into this Ravage, and the team fight combination coming out from THD with the Requiem of Souls on top of it is pretty hard, but I think it's worth trying with 10-second BKB. They'll get a lasso. They find themselves at the time. They'll pull him out of position before breaking that Kraken Shell, but he's able to walk out of there with that 4 staff. He doesn't have the Blink at the ready, but he has a team now. They'll Earth Spike up, Class 2-2, Blink and Echo Slam onto 2. Doesn't catch out Zeal with the first spell, but it is going to be enough to kill off Mino. It will be dropped down by the Trolls. He chunks him down with that BKB. Sanj proc onto Zeal, going to be able to chase down this Vengeance. He just slap chops her down. Cloth 2-2 finds a pretty easy double kill for him, and a tier 2 tower after the fact. Finally, CNB have found an opening to actually accomplish something. Although the 10-second BKB is down, unfortunately for them, they might attempt to put some pressure onto this high ground, as PHD aren't really in a great position to defend. Tier 3 tower is going to be dropped down about a third, and I think CNB might be wise to back off here as they are fighting into the Tide Hunter Ravage. Collapse 2-2 going to be fighting up against Strafe, but this is not a fight you can win. The Bristleback's getting a lot of cool stacks off. There's Requiem unwound, going to drain a lot of the mana coming out from the Dusa. The ultimate is being unwound by the Dusa as we speak, but isn't doing enough. The Quill Spray proc by attacking the Bristleback from behind will kill off the Bat Rider, but now Strafe is being attacked by Klotz 2-2. Doesn't even feel like it. He eventually gets the Bastion. Will be able to kill off Strafe, but my goodness, that took him like 20 attacks to actually seal the deal. No buyback on the Bristleback, but then again, CNB are not in a healthy way. Medusa forced all the way back to base with Pat out of mana. And Ned also on sub 100 HP. Probably should consider going back as well. So there you have it. CNB, they find an opportunity, but aren't actually able to do very much of it. That is Ravage forced out and what have you, but Iground's defended, at least for now, for THD, and they're going to buy themselves a little bit more time. But while this is happening, CNB are getting fatter and fatter on their cores. Mantis Style now freshly picked up by the Dusa, and we also have that Troll going to be rocking a Assault Cuirass of his own and just about 250 gold or so. Things are looking really good for CNB. We'll have to see if they're going to be able to replicate that, but I think it's going to be reliant, as much as I hesitate to say it, on another Aegis, and that's not going to be even a potential for another 3.5 minutes or so. Well then, it looks like we're just going to sit back and farm, pretty much as the state of the entire game has been. It's up to THD to change that up, but without a Ravage at the ready, I don't think they're going to be willing to take a fight either. Both teams are pretty much on cooldown when it comes to what they're going to be able to do in the next couple of minutes. 3 minutes and 25 seconds is going to be the cooldown for Roche. It's going to be another short timer, which is probably pretty darn good for CNB. Their Roche fighting lineup is really good. Mino, as well as Zeal, are going to be spotted out by a Dire Observer Ward over in the sidelines, and this vision really is doing wonders for CNB, although it's not going to be along for much longer. Just being able to spot out these support rotations is great to have at your disposal, and will mean that they're pretty free to push up top. Klotz 2-2. If he is ever able to sink his hands into that 2-2 trap. Not going to be long for this world. With the Assault Cuirass as well as with the Battle Trance activated, he attacks it like 5 times, chunks it down to a third of its damage pretty casually. Blink in. You'll have to Requiem. Going to be a wound, but a little too early. Or no, the BKB popped out by Klotz 2-2. Now going to town on the Strafe. The Ice Blast flies through, going to connect onto the SF as well as the Bristleback. But it looks like nothing's actually going to happen until they swap back Klotz 2-2. Magic Missile as well. He's going to drop down low. They last level up suggested a whole cluster of a fight. The man fight from Strafe as well as the Troll is real, but the Finger of Death going to put an end to that. Bristleback is stacking up a lot of damage, hitting for about 300 a pop. Echo Slam over to Mino. Can he actually seal the deal into this line? However, he Shoal Scepter up in the air into the loving arms of the Medusa. He's going to walk, and that's going to be a killing spree for the Medusa. Now mopping up one. The Ravage is coming out from the Crazy, but do they actually have the damage to follow it up? Strafe is a little too far away. Now the Crazy is just going to be run down by the double damage rune on Medusa. Too much damage and a triple kill for her. 3 for 3 is the end-up trade. It looks pretty darn even as the Bristleback and SF are the ones to survive on THD's side, and the Bat Rider on the Medusa on CNB, but this Dusa is getting unmanageably fat. After that last engagement, unfortunately, come on, show me the fight recap, not actually going to happen. But really collecting huge, currently sitting at about 5,000 or so ahead of the SF when it comes to the net worth department, and, well, it's going to get a little bit better as she mops up a 2-2 tower for herself. Oh, unfortunate. Missed the last hit there. But yeah, not going to really on the Medusa all that much. From here on out, I think it's probably straight up damage. And MKB looks to be pretty attractive, even though there's no mischance currently on THD. I think just the raw damage and the potential for a Butterfly coming out from the SF and potential for a Bristleback to pick up a Halberd is probably enough to pick that item up. If not, just go Daedalus. Why not? No matter what it is, I'd like to see it be a Demon Edge item. And, well, he might wait a little bit longer for that since he, although having buyback, doesn't want to risk dying without having it. So he probably won't pick up anything for now. But still, this Deuce is getting a lot. I think that is the bottom line. For THD, they do have 2,000 gold onto their Bristleback, and honestly, I think that Halberd would be a really good item to have at their disposal, even though it is going to be a little bit slot inefficient to hold onto the Yasha after disassembling the S and Y. I think selling that stick and doing so would be a lot better for them, just making sure that Dusa isn't able to right-click during the fight. She has reached that point where she is a major right-click threat, especially if you can find another double damage rune. That's always nice. But yeah, she does have those 3 major items. It's hitting for about 200 pop. BKB popped out by the Troll. He wants to find a target to stick on. It's going to be Mino. Poor Mino. Going to eat 1 axe from the Troll, but nothing more. They're looking for the Enchant Totem, but can't find it. Hex up on the Earthshaker beforehand. Swap out onto the line. Going to survive at least for now, but now the Medusa comes in, running through that double damage, ripping to shreds. Suggests he's gone. Ice Blast lands through, and Strafe is locked in place. The physical damage is immense, and that's a wicked 6 spree, and CNB have blown this game wide open after just a couple of fights. Look at that downward slope. Currently upwards of 5,000 in the net worth and even more in the experience, and GG's called out. Are you kidding me? THD, what an anticlimactic way to end this game. Just going to straight up call it GG, and, well, There you have it. Game 1 is over, folks. CNB going to be able to find a big opportunity, and after such a close game, such a farm fest, it's over. We'll have to see what's going to happen in game number 2. I definitely think the THD have it in them to take a game off of CNB, but maybe they just need to execute a little bit better, find those openings. Honestly, it didn't really feel like they did much with that Yule's Scepter blink on the Shadow Fiend, and the blink on the Lion also didn't set up very many kills, so maybe some missed opportunities there that they could work on next time. Thanks for watching. Game number 2 up shortly. Don't go anywhere.